we have international regulations for cybersecurity in rail being discussed, being created at this very moment, something that doesn't exist. But the embedding the cybersecurity in the product development cycle, the same way as safety, is what we see being the way ahead.
Hi, I'm Roark Pollock, and this is the first season of the Secure Tracks podcast, where we host rail industry leaders to talk about operational rail technologies and cybersecurity. In this episode, we're hosting our first guest from a rail integrator, and we'll be talking about embedding cybersecurity into greenfield rolling stock builds. So let's talk about rail tech systems on rolling stock with someone who helps build today's digital trains, Bruno Corasolla. Bruno is the current global head of digital trains, part of Hitachi Rail's innovation for vehicle steam, and has been at Hitachi Rail for over 6 years. Prior to Hitachi Rail, Bruno spent 13 years at Embraer as an aeronautical systems development engineer. So Bruno, welcome to the show, and thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Roark. Thank you for having me. It's very good to be here.
Absolutely. Well, Bruno, one of the things I like to do is kind of explore with people how they got into cybersecurity. And I know you've had some changes throughout your career. So to start off, I know you've got an electrical engineering degree, you have a master's degree in aeronautics. How did you go from aeronautical systems development to building trains in the train industry, first of all?
It was a bit like a personal change. I had to move continents, move countries, and when I had to find a new job, and I found that the rail industry is very much alike to the aerospace industry in terms that rail product development is very much, especially rolling stock, is very much like aircrafts. Like the skills and process that you need to use are very similar. In the end, we're just a lot of mechatronic systems that rely on human operation and carry passengers up and down. So it's even in terms of regulations and so on, rail is picking up and getting closer and closer to the aviation is today. So it's a very similar type of industry in the end of the day.
I guess that makes sense. I never really thought about it that way, but I guess that does make a lot of sense. So there's a good fit there. And then as far as how you got into the cybersecurity side of the business, because most of us, like myself, most people I know, we didn't start off in cybersecurity, but we've somehow found our way into the industry. What was your path that led you into cyber?
It's kind of a funny story that as you know, my background is all in product development. So my life was all around safety, operational requirements, availability, and so on. And then someday, a senior director at Hitachi came around with a printed copy of the IEC 62443 standard, saying, we need people to understand that. And I took that like this size of pages and read them through the weekend. And next Monday, like another coffee chat, I told him that I kind of understood the process behind all of that and so on. And before I knew, I became responsible for cybersecurity. Like, you understood the process, very good. That now that's yours. Make this your life now.
Got it. That's awesome. I don't know too many people that have probably read the 62443 standards cover to cover. All right. Well, that's good. And I know as part of that, you ended up moving from England to Brazil. That's, from Brazil to England, and that's a big move. Certainly a worse weather, I would think.
Absolutely, it wasn't because of the weather. Definitely, yeah. I had my. It was really a personal thing. Now my wife, she was already living here in UK, and then when we decided to move together, we had to choose either Brazil or UK, and then we decided.
Yeah,
we ended up deciding for UK.
Well, that's always a good reason. Keep the wife happy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's jump into our first topic today and talk about, kind of from your perspective, the drivers for cybersecurity and rolling stock design and build projects. I know, we don't have to go back very far. Not too many years to find a time when cyber wasn't really even a consideration in the design of rolling stock systems. And probably not even too far back beyond that, where we didn't even have very many digital systems on rolling stock designs, or they weren't a consideration. So what do you think is the biggest driver in getting cybersecurity tools built into rolling stock designs? Is it just a concern of the threat landscape? Is it the new industry standards that are coming out in different parts of the world? Is it just the fact that the operator orders it and it's part of the requirements that drives the rail integrators to really start building in cyber into those rolling stock builds?
I would say there's a bit of everything that you said. It's
okay.
Not long ago, the cybersecurity was assumed to be purely an assurance activity, something that you would do in the end of the design. You just assure is it secure, tick, sooner as the more requirements were rising, both from our customers, their operators, their asset owners, and also a small group inside the company found that we will be too exposed to risks of the developer product without considering cybersecurity. That needed to be embedded in the design. So there's a bit of everything. So generally, the requirements that we receive from our customers, from operators, or from asset owners, until today, are generally more generic in terms of cybersecurity, more focused on business, on the business cybersecurity, on the IT side of cybersecurity, business risks related to cybersecurity, more on the ISO 27000 world of requirements. But this is changes. Not much comes as formal requirement for the product itself. But we found that we deriving from the business risks, the way we design our product, that we need to embed that from the beginning.
Got it. What are kind of the most common tools that you see coming to you, at least as far as the requirements that you're seeing from the asset owners or the operators today? Does it vary by geography? Is it pretty similar across the globe? What are you seeing?
It's definitely not similar around the globe, and it's not similar even customer to customer, because it really depends on the level of knowledge the customer or the customer have in cybersecurity, and also the infrastructure they have ready to operate our products, and still be compliant to the regional cybersecurity legislation. We see places like UK, US, where the legislation is a bit more developed. The requirements are coming stronger from customer, while other areas are catching up, and we would start seeing some, if not requirements, at least some more discussions around the cybersecurity related to the products, saying that the kind of solution, the kind of tool that most as of today, the intrusion threat monitoring and intrusion monitoring is probably the tools that are requested more directly from these customers, even though it's not the only one, but it's the one that we get more direct requirements from customers.
Of course.
Yeah.
Got it. And are you seeing any emerging kind of requirements coming from them, or do they typically look to you as the rail integrator and designer to kind of make suggestions from a cyber standpoint?
Absolutely. The most of some of these customers, they don't have developed their cybersecurity infrastructure to manage the cybersecurity in operation. So they end up relying a bit on our view on how the which threats and which parts of the product need to be better monitored, or need to generate some information for them to consider
Right.
on their operation. So
Okay.
it really depends on the customer and how developed they are on their cybersecurity process.
Yeah, yeah. Anything that you're starting to see just kind of now emerge as new requirements, or things that people are starting to ask for, or as it pretty much started to stabilize a little bit?
It's starting to stabilize more. We used to see the same requirements coming over and over, the tender after tender, contract after contract. Now for the more recent tenders and contracts, we're seeing more, if not detailed, more product oriented requirements coming over. So
Okay.
the operator and us owners understanding how to fix our products as part of their SMS process,
Right.
and how they would use these products in their operation. So it's becoming probably a bit simpler to assess that, or to derive requirements to our products.
Got it. Got it. Okay, that makes sense. So
Yeah.
I know one of the things that's kind of driving the industry, or at least spurring the industry a bit, is the new regulatory requirements. Things like I know we have the new TSA directives, security directives in the U.S. that were published last year. How do the rail integrators think about these new requirements? Do you typically kind of proactively try to start incorporating what's being asked for in those requirements, or is it a trickle down effect where it starts with the operators and then it feeds into their requirements and becomes part of what you then have to design to?
Formally, we would wait for the operator, but this is not how it should work. Like as said, both in US with the TSA security directives. Here in UK, you have for a while the NIS directive,
Right.
NIS 2 in UK and in Europe. Now with Europe passing, just very close to pass the Cyber Resilience Act, that will start
Right.
providing requirements for mostly for the operator and asset owners, and in theory this would flow down, would cascade to the integrator. But we need to be ahead of our requirements. So generally the life cycle, development cycle of a product, it doesn't support something completely new being introduced within the product development cycle. So we need to be a bit ahead of the requirements and finding what is more likely that the customers will require, but also
Right.
also supporting. As I said, many times we need to support them and understanding what is their role and our role within this the whole secure environment.
Got it.
So yeah, we definitely need to start introducing now something that will be used in 5-6 years time from now.
Yeah, makes sense. So you kind of maybe answered this question, but it's something that I was curious about. And with some of these regulatory requirements is, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to or have an opinion on it, but what are your thoughts on the government regulations that I've seen mostly apply to the operators and the asset owners? And it's almost curious why those regulations don't also apply to the rail integrators or the builders. So I'm curious on your thought. Should the regulatory requirements also enforce those same cybersecurity standards on the integrators from a builder standpoint and from a rail operator standpoint, so that you're addressing both sides of the equation from my perspective?
Well, there's a more formal and business kind of response. Like they're positive and negative on this. Like positive,
Yeah.
if these requirements were set also for the integrators, would be better for in a way that clear requirements will be established from the regulation standpoint. These will remove some risk on our product development. So we will know which requirements to comply to, and let the integration on how this will work to the operator. But
Right.
there will be also a negative point on this, that very likely the overall product cost will probably be higher, because we will be addressing a generic requirement that not always would fit on every operation, every customer. As I said, every customer would have a different way to manage their cybersecurity risks, and not like there's no one size fits all for solutions here.
True.
And
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
I know
in my very personal opinion, it shouldn't be rolled out to the integrators. That each integrator should be aware of these regulations and find their best balance on their relationship with the customers, like setting depending on the customers they are trying to reach, prepare the products to be to fit into their cybersecurity environment.
Got it. Yeah, that does make sense. I hadn't thought about the fact that those standards don't actually apply to every single operator in those regions.
Yeah, and even the way they deliver, the way they comply to those requirements, maybe is likely different depending on the size. You think like an operator with multiple fleets from different suppliers. They're operating different parts of a country, or even in different countries. They would have a different operational environment than a local operator that has probably only one fleet for one supplier, and operate in a much more limited threat environment, and they need to be compliant only to one country set of regulations.
Yeah, and I'm sure if I think about it, if I were a rail operator, if I was a CISO for a rail operator, I'd probably prefer to have the flexibility to design the requirements for an RFP from you the way I want it implemented, not necessarily the way you've chosen to implement it. So,
yeah, absolutely,
makes good sense. All right, so enough about kind of the drivers. Let's talk a little bit about embedding cybersecurity into your rolling stock design and the whole design and build process. It's if I take a step back and I make an analogy to the cyber or to the safety world, it's not been too long ago safety wasn't embedded as part of the rolling stock design. Well, maybe it's been a century. I don't know. It's been longer than cyber, certainly. But safety is now embedded throughout the whole process. Right, it's a part of the design and engineering process. And maybe if you think about safety as an analogy, where do you think we are from a cybersecurity standpoint at getting cyber embedded into the engineering process for rolling stock, just like we have now with the maturity of the safety in our design and engineering process?
Yeah, where we are is we are in clear development, like in many areas, from the regulations and standard side. As you see, we have new regulations coming over every quarter, every 6 months, and similarly standards to try to comply to these regulations, or to bring the industry to the same level. Currently, we have international regulations for cybersecurity in rail being discussed, being created at this very moment, something that doesn't exist. But the embedding the cybersecurity in the product development cycle, the same way as safety, is what we see being the way ahead. We are not there yet. Most of the integrators, they don't have either the knowledge, or they couldn't get to the they didn't have the opportunity to get cybersecurity as part of a product development cycle that is quite long for rail. It's like we're talking about 5-6 years development cycle, and many times you don't reach the product development and then the sweet spot when you can do the best influence into the design.
Yeah. Okay. And maybe just tell us a little bit, how you're seeing the cybersecurity teams involved in that design and build process. Where do they get involved? Are they involved throughout?
Ideally, as I said, being this development cycle so long, the sooner the earliest cybersecurity teams get involved, the better, for different reasons. Like the understanding the product you're developing to each kind of operation, to each both security but also operational requirements. Give a cybersecurity team the opportunity first to start assessing the product and the risks that the product will be exposed to, and also influencing, as I said, influencing the design in a direction to make the compliance later much simpler to achieve. So if you embed a security function in the early days of the product development, the impact on the actual product in terms of cost complexity is not that much compared to doing that later.
Right.
Yeah, you take one function, for instance, as an example, the user authentication is something that if you embed user authentication in the core design of your product from the beginning, that's perfectly fine. It's the additional cost is possible very small. While if you're doing that well later in the design, the cost and even is many times not even capable of embedding or including that in the design.
Yeah, it's not an easy overlay. It's got to be included from the beginning.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. And I know, we talk about embedding it in from your perspective, but certainly rail integrators rely on suppliers for a lot of what they do from a cyber standpoint. And so I'm interested in the relationship between the integrators and the security vendors or the security community, how the integrators engage with the security vendor community and vice versa, and your thoughts on, or your expectations of the security vendor community, and perhaps are there some things that are not happening today that you'd like to see better work in those relationships?
Yeah, in the ideal world, from the integrator perspective, our design should be vendor agnostic, so they were open for the market. This today it requires the integrator to engage to as many vendors as possible to understand the variety of solutions that exist, or their coverage. We're talking from data diodes to intrusion detection systems to integrating user authentication, as I mentioned. This is how the integrators are facing this problem today. Probably a point of improvement for the vendors that would facilitate that relationship, facilitate this interface, is the standards for cybersecurity, not only for rail but in general for control systems, are getting more established. is maybe to describe and link their solutions to the security functions that are described in these standards. I'm saying, for instance, I mentioned IEC 62443. That's the de facto standard for the majority of the control systems. If we could understand the solutions the vendors are offering in terms of these are the ICC 443-3-3 functions or -2-4 functions that are covered by the product that we are offering. This would facilitate the interface with the integrator. So that wouldn't require the integrator to have so deeper knowledge in the cybersecurity in that relationship. So this will make the integrator life much easier.
Okay, good point. All right, we're talking about cyber here as if it were kind of like a piece of hardware, or even a software solution built into kind of rolling stock environments. But that's just a piece of the picture for me from a cyber standpoint. I'm sure you're the same way. I think of cyber as more of a process at the end of the day. And so for a lot of operators, that means there's a big part of cyber that's either internal processes for their teams, or they outsource it as a security service. Perhaps they're building new SOC for their control or for their operational rail tech environments. And so we're getting to the point where a lot of our security capabilities are pretty sophisticated, especially on rolling stock systems now. So as you think about the services part of it, or the what it takes to manage these tools, do you envision the rail integrators getting into operating some of these security capabilities as a potential new source of revenue, and perhaps even a recurring revenue stream? Or is that going to be something that's left up to kind of the traditional systems integrators?
It's indeed a possibility. Like in the same way that rail integrations, they many times they have maintenance contracts for the fleets that we provide. And in a similar way,
kind of what brought this up.
Yeah, that would be an extension. It's not something that we are there yet. I don't know if any other rail integration may have, but indeed, it's a possibility, because it's in the end of the day, is being able to offer a service of managing cybersecurity risks based on the tools and the information that is available for no specific product. So the rail industry today is used to and is very good in managing safety risks. It's a process that is like embedded in the rail industry in general, especially in the operators, but not as much for managing cyber risks. So this would be a possible business. That would something that would also support our customers on find the best areas to invest in security, rather than simply requesting everything from every part of the chain, and integrating everything. So that's very much how it's done today in maintenance, for instance.
Exactly. Well, that's what made me. That's what made it. That brought the topic up, because I know a lot of the integrators are maintainers as well, especially on the rolling stock side. So that's kind of where it came up, and I could certainly see it being a kind of reasonable next step for some of them. So okay. Makes sense. All right. So one question I wonder about is, do the operators get very specific about specific tool sets and specific designs, even maybe so far as going to ask for specific vendors as part of their rolling stock requirements for new builds? Or is that something that you ever see from them, or is it really something that's left up to you as the integrator to figure out what parts fit best together to service their requirements?
Yeah, so far we haven't seen any specific requirements for cybersecurity vendors or specific solutions. But similar to what happened in other areas, so for instance, for when integrating digital platforms, that we end up for some customers getting requirements for specific vendors, is when the customer has a level where they want to integrate that fleet or that product into an existent cybersecurity infrastructure.
Hmm.
Even if they already have a SOC or they have other fleets with a given solution already implemented, they have built their process around that solution. That's when I see that possibility of receiving specific requirements about vendors. But as of today, we never saw any specific requirements for cybersecurity. As I said, yeah, it's something that may happen in the future.
Got it. So makes sense. Bruno, one
Yeah.
last question. Yeah, we're talking about, you know, and what's driving the industry. How do we get, where are we as far as embedding cybersecurity and rolling stock and the build of rolling stock? Where do you see things going over the next kind of 3 to 5 years, both from us? Do you have any thoughts on the threat landscape and where you think that might evolve, but especially on cybersecurity in rolling stock design and builds? Where do you think things are going?
So in the next 3 to 5 years, that's when we'll see probably the first products that were designed with a cybersecurity from the as a concern from the early days. So we'll see more products with integrated identity authentication, user access control, down to intrusion detection and the amount of information being provided to security operational offices. This is where I see like a more integrated approach to cybersecurity with more information, more tools from the product being available,
Hmm.
the products getting into operation need to be integrated into a higher level cybersecurity environment. This will very likely require a lot of adjustments on in the operational procedures, maintenance procedures, and there will be a deep impact on how an
Right.
operator operate the rolling stock fleet.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
And you're basically saying those are just coming online because it takes 3 to 5 years just to develop these projects. So
yeah,
it's we're just getting some of the first fleets out there that have it designed in from scratch.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And you get more and more integrated, and as such, will require changes in how the operators deal with these fleets.
Right. Any thoughts on how new projects starting in the next 3 to 5 years may change?
How you mean?
Well, how the embedding of cybersecurity or the tools that we're using or the technologies that we're using may
I
change over the next
give you
3 to 5.
yeah, an example on how a future fleet may look like. That
Okay.
we talk about the user authentication and identity management. So anyone getting into a train to do any kind of operation, being actually operating the train, being
Right.
either the driver, a crew, or a maintainer, they will need to handle to manage or the train will need to manage their their identity, their level
Hmm.
authorization, what kind of function they will be exposed and available for that identity, and all these will have a chain effect on all the infrastructure and process that you need to have in place
Right.
to do a simple task as simple as getting to the train, identifying yourself as a driver, for instance, and operating the train. Something that today the driver takes a key, a physical key, the user authentication. And with
Right.
that physical key, the driver is authorized to operate the train. Similar to maintenance, similar to operational staff. So that's how I see things will change. So
Right.
the change on the product itself will need to be extended to all the systems that all the system and process around operating that kind of product. So
Yeah.
this will be the biggest impact that I see. And it's not far. It's probably in 3-5 years, as I said, we will very likely start seeing fleets that will require this level for change in operational procedures.
I can certainly see that. We see it in all kinds of other industries in IT world for sure.
Absolutely.
Whoever gets access to the data center, and these are rolling data centers after all. So
exactly.
Yeah. Well, that makes good sense. I appreciate that view of the future from you. So, Bruno, let's wrap things up a little bit. As somebody that builds all these digital trains, both the digital side, the cyber side, if you think about yourself as a CISO, or if we have CISOs from rail operators that may be listening, what kind of advice or what bit of advice would you summarize to give some of the CISOs out there that might be listening?
It's a very clear advice. Get involved in the requirements solicitation for when your company is tendering product, is creating the requirements for a new product. Get the requirements there to fit into your ISMS, because this will help everyone. This will help them, because in the end of the day, they will need to fit this new product and manage that new product in terms of controlling the risks of having that product as part of their operational landscape.
Right.
And also will help us on designing the product in a way that is better for interpreting with the what they're expecting. So it's get involved early and get your ideas and your requirements in the tendering requirements.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure all the CISOs for rail operators out there, if they're not already involved, they would love that bit of advice, because I'm sure they're, as I would say in Texas, chomping at the bit to get involved or get more involved.
Yeah.
So, all right, I really appreciate that. Well, Bruno, if somebody would want to contact you, are there any social media platforms that you're active on that would work, or what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Through LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I'm quite active in LinkedIn, so that's probably the best way to contact me.
Okay, and your name is there, so it's
my name is there. Yeah.
All right,
it's
perfect.
easy to find.
Yeah, yours as well, and mine both.
Yeah, we don't have any homonymous in the network, so it's easy to find.
Yeah, there's no other people with our names. I don't think it's good and bad. So yeah, Bruno, indeed. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining us today. I really appreciate it, and thank you for listening. That's the end of our show today, and so until next time, keep those tracks secure.